Hello, Isaac and I are very pleased to kick off this series of fireside chats with an exceptional personality, Joseph Jaworski. Joseph kindly endorsed our book, and his endorsement made such an impression on us that we included it on the cover. Joseph has been a great source of inspiration for both of us, mainly through his 3 books, whose evocative titles are Synchronicity, Presence, and Source. In this interview, we discuss about his long career, the choices he has made and why he made them, but also the challenges of the times we are living in today and the role of leaders in these turbulent times. We hope you enjoy watching the dialogue as much as we enjoyed having it.
Hello.
Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Joseph.
I was reading again some parts of Synchronicities those days, and I checked, the little points that I underlined when I read it, and there was this one that I pretty much liked, and you're right, all meetings are forever.
Oh,
So I hope that also this meeting and what we're going to discuss together and dialogue is something
yeah.
forever.
So I feel the same way, and I love it that you all have framed this as a fireside chat because
Yeah.
it's the most generative way for us to communicate like this.
Maybe before we start really our conversation, for the people who are going to listen to it and watch it, maybe you can, I don't know if you have a long life already, but maybe explain the main points of what you've tried to achieve through your life, and also you talk about leadership as a way to find and to quest for your own destiny. So maybe you can talk a little bit around these lines. Have you found your destiny?
So that's very appealing to me. Thank you for that invitation. So let me I'll try to keep it short, but I'm 91 now.
Okay.
And so there's a lot to cover. I'm going to condense it. I've had something like 5 careers in my life. And I started out as a trial lawyer and really enjoyed serving the underdog. Some of the most important cases and what I consider to be my most important successes were serving the underdog in those cases. I had occasion only 5 or 6 days ago when one of my proteges called me just to reminisce about some of those moments. So anyway, I had this career as a lawyer, and the thing that I enjoyed most about that was the founding and building of the law firm. There were only 8 of us that started, and it's now 400 plus lawyers. So it's a law firm with a significant impact in the world.
Great.
And then I resigned from the firm very early to follow a dream I had, which was to found the American Leadership Forum, which I described in the book Synchronicity. And it's now over 45 years old, and it's thriving. And I stay in touch with the leader of that organization, and there's now some talk about expanding it into Europe. It's designed to create more effective civic leadership in communities. The next thing I did was serving as the head of Shell's scenario planning team, their long-range strategic planning team. And that was a great experience for me and a great learning experience because I had never been a part of such a very large organization. Um, at the time I joined, there was 130,000 people, and I agreed to stay for 5 years because I felt I wanted to come back to the law firm, but something intervened, and the great professor at MIT, Peter Senge, came and visited me in London, and we had breakfast together, and he invited me to come to Boston to found a new center at MIT, to co-found with him, called the MIT Organizational Learning Center. So I just made an instant decision and moved to Boston. Led to the founding of my current firm called Generon, because there was too much work to be done, and Peter asked me to form a consulting company so the center could offload some of the work. So that's how that happened.
Okay.
I had a dream that I can tell you about how it was formed. The dream to form this American Leadership Forum, and it was so outlandish and it was so different that it took me 7 years to make that decision. I was so fearful of leaving what I knew, and you're right, I had just been admitted to the American College of Trial Lawyers, which is for the top 1% of the trial lawyers in America. And, and for me to walk away from all that was really hard. But the pull of that dream was just too great. And I was in London founding our London office for the firm, and I just decided to take that step. And when I did, it was the opening of the door to a life of adventure and meaning that I had never imagined before.
What was driving you toward leadership with such intensity that it outweighed being elected into the top 1% of trial lawyers, this college, very prestigious college? It was clearly more compelling than that distinction. What was this deeper need you were trying to fulfill?
Here's the answer. It's a little bit of a story, but I did it. I did it as the result of a conversation I had with my father on our family ranch on one afternoon. My father at the time was the Watergate prosecutor. He had been asked to prosecute President Nixon for crimes. And at the time he went to Washington and accepted that role, he was not sure that Nixon was a criminal. And that day on the ranch, we were out on the pastures cutting wood, and we stopped for a break, and he threw down a transcript that had been in the back of the little Jeep we were using. And his nickname for me was Bud. He said, "Here, Bud, read this." And I picked up that transcript, and it was marked, and it was a recorded conversation of President Nixon suborning perjury with his top 3 aides, all of whom were lawyers. And it was just a shock to me. He was teaching them line by line how to lie to the grand jury. And it had a big effect on me. My dad said, I'm going after him tooth and nail now. It's back in Texas, we call it 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝘁 the door. It's like we're going after him full force. But in that process, I thought that very night, Isaac, that I'm partially responsible for this because I had my head down and my tail up working day and night in my profession, and I was not paying attention to civic affairs and political affairs. And so I was partially responsible for electing a man like this. And it affected me so deeply. I went home and outlined a way that we could teach rising leaders like myself to pay more attention and to become not only good professional leaders, but good civic leaders as well.
What influence did your parents have that you, Joseph, became the person that you are?
Everybody talks about my father, but let me just start with my mother because she had a big influence on me because she's the one she was a homemaker. And when I was a little boy, I was at home with her. I'd come home from school and she gave me complete freedom to do whatever I wanted to until dinner time. And she just turned me loose. And we lived by a big thing we call in America a bayou. It's like a little river. Mm-hmm. And I would go down and I was exploring all alone, fishing down there, hunting, and taking my friends with me and creating, encampments and things, total freedom. I attribute my capacity to innovate and to create new pathways to that experience. Mm-hmm. I learned at an early age about my capacity for innovation and creativity, and I understood the value of freedom, which helped me later in life when I was helping to transform companies and develop leadership in companies, the importance of freedom.
And trust. Presumably your mother trusted you, right, Joseph? Even as a young boy, not to make reckless decisions, believing you would impose your own boundaries, your own limits on your behavior, right?
She trusted me and my father trusted me, and I knew I had to earn that trust. Mm.
Joseph, you track back your taste for adventure in this experience, but maybe there is also this connection with nature that you talk a lot about, which is so important to you.
Totally. So if one asked me, what is the most important advice you would give to a rising leader, I would say to be aware of the power of nature to heal and inform you, and that being out in nature is one of the most healing and informing experiences one can have. I can say a lot more about that, but that's exactly correct. And when we founded the American Leadership Forum, I put in that program an 8-day nature experience. And it's the one thing that everybody talks about. But this teacher you mentioned is John Milton. Mm-hmm. And he was my teacher, from 45 years ago or so. And he's the one that taught me the value of those deep nature experiences and the revelations that one can get. I was on solo for, as you said, for 3 nights. I was fasting. I could only drink a mixture that we had. And the revelation that occurred at the end of that experience a significant, was the main reason that we were able to prove the efficacy of the 𝗺 process. And at the end of that, I was standing on the end of a rock early one morning after a vision quest, and I was really upset with myself because I'd spent 24 hours on this vision quest, and nothing had happened. And I was standing there, and in front of me, just after I was lamenting this, two whales came spurting up out of the water in front of me, and then hung there and just went down with almost no splash. They did that 3 times in front of me. I mean, directly in front of me. And I just knelt down crying and saying, dear God, what is the message? And then it came to me, just like that. Take the 𝗺 process to scale. I mean, it was a message that was unmistakable. Take the 𝗺 process to scale. And that was because we had been using it in companies very successfully after it had been discovered, but this was the directive to take it into society.
Maybe, Joseph, we talked about your mother, but not that much about your father.
Oh, let me say this, that he was a major influence in my life. And he was, his father was a German immigrant here in 1902 or 3. And was a preacher, a Lutheran minister.
Okay.
And he was infused with a deep value set. Our father was because of his mother and father. He had a deep value set, and that was infused in him from his early days from his father. He was a great American, a great human being, and he volunteered for the Army when he was not required to go. He was so successful, Eisenhower asked him to be the chief prosecutor of the European theater war crime trials. And he went over there, as you all indicated, before the war was over. And he was there when the concentration camps were liberated. And he had his forensic teams taking pictures. And he tried the first 5 war crime trials in modern history, and they became the precedent. And then he set up the whole Nuremberg trials. So he was a great person. And I don't mention this as a matter of pride, it's just a matter of fact that I was president of my senior class. And when it was time for commencement, they asked my father to deliver the commencement address along with my address to the senior class. And so it was such a privilege for me to be able to be on the same stage with him, and we both spoke to the audience. And this is a relevant point, that night he spoke to that audience, the mothers and fathers and all the graduates, about the responsibility of business leaders and leaders of all stripes, the responsibility that they had to ensure that their country stayed free. And he told the story of what happened in Germany and how it was, I'll never forget those words, how it was that Hitler came to power. And he said it was because of the lack of civic interest by so many people, and the fact that they just allowed this to happen without paying attention to what was most important. This is no time for bystanders.
The question is how you view the moment we're living right now. We are much interested about the role of business leaders.
Look, I believe this is a pivotal moment for our world. The state of the world, I think, is in danger. These authoritarian movements are taking place all over the world, including Europe, and now in America. And I'm deeply troubled by it. This particular moment calls for people to do exactly what you all propose in your book, and that is to be examples of loving, caring people instead of people who are violent narcissists and who are fascists. And everything that you describe in your book is an example of how people in business and people in other realms of life can conduct their life in a way that is generative and supportive. So that's the big picture. Even before I read your book, and for years, I have been encouraging business leaders to hold the vision and to hold the intention to create a company similar to the carrying company that you recommend, and that it will serve the bottom line, but it will also serve society. There are so many examples that I can point to in the work that we have done. I will say that it's discouraging in the 40 years of work in companies, how many of the leaders understand deeply what you just said, Isaac, and what you're saying in the book, Lauren. They deeply believe it, but they do not want to be judged and thought as people on the fringe, and so they do not operate from their deepest knowing and deepest convictions. But the ones that do, and and you've described the ones in your book, and I have others, are hugely successful at the bottom line.
Yeah.
So that's why I love your book so much, is because it shows the example of those that do both. So this is the disease, I believe, in modern business, and that is the desire to conform. And I can't tell you how many. I mean, it's discouraging, really, how many top business leaders confide in me and tell me this, but they don't have the heart to do otherwise. Don't give up. We cannot give up. There needs to be people like the two of you who observe the way that they have observed and write it down and create best-selling books. There are such great examples that we can point to. One of which, Isaac, I told a story in Seoul when we were there about the Los Angeles refinery owned by Shell. Gary Wilson, the deputy manager, was given permission because he had gone through our course to create a loving company, and he created a whole new protocol. Instead of going to work every morning having to follow the manual so it doesn't blow up the plant, he created a few big rules that keep the plant from blowing up, and then said, you people have the freedom to do whatever you need to do to make this a success within those big rules. There were 18 refineries in that system. This one was worst. It was at number 18. About a year and a half, it went from worst to first. And it was based upon the principles that you all outline in your book.
Mm.
That's what you also write in Synchronicity, your kind of definition of leadership when you say it's the release of possibilities.
The release of human possibility.
Human possibility, sorry. And we always have the feeling with Isaac that this is just there, the possibility of opening up and speaking and acting. It's just there. It's not a question of a 10-year plan or whatever. It's something that's just present.
It's exactly correct. And that little story I just told is a good example.
Yeah.
Look, if anybody had looked at that refinery when Gary decided to do this, they would say it's a losing proposition. You can't do it. They'd been trying for years, for over a decade, to turn this thing around. And he had just finished going through our U process course, and it's all about possibility. And it was that instinct that had him come to me and said, "Will you work with me to help turn this around?" And that's exactly what he did, operating from that principle that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say, Joseph, that leadership is a very rare commodity, or that leadership is distributed in much wider numbers, and what is missing for these people is in some way jump the boat, right? So they are potentially leaders that can do that, what this man in Shell did, what we studied, right? But and there's something missing for them, for example, to let go of the social conformism of what people will say of me, something. Or again, there's another way, right? That it's only reserved to a very small number of people, and that most of business, we can call bosses, right? That are at the helm of their companies, they're not leaders. They can organize that through a kind of orders, instructions, guidelines, whatever, right? And controls, but they are not leaders. Nothing can be done with them. What is your position?
My position is that the capacity for leadership is distributed very widely.
Mm.
That anyone can do this with certain attributes, and the issue is giving people the courage, as you put it, to jump the boat and to avoid this this pressure to conform, which is the deadly disease facing leadership in business and in really all realms. So that's exactly correct.
But maybe then the only way to fight conformism is really for people to understand that they are unique and to connect with that uniqueness. My question is also around how can you help people connect with that? Because it's when you discover your own uniqueness that you don't need to conform to anybody, because you're just who you are. And paradoxically, I also feel that when you connect with who you are as a unique person, you also connect to the whole universe, in fact.
Precisely. So I couldn't put any better than that. So it's really true. I I have a different. So Otto was an employee of ours at Generon, and I asked him to help us as we discovered the U process, which in itself, how we were asked to do that is a great story. But your point about each individual being unique and each individual has unique powers and capacities, and the revelations at the bottom of the U are very personal, and they unleash the true possibility and capacity of the person who is undertaking that discovery. And so I just think you're absolutely correct that although each person is unique, they can join together as a unit within an organization or any other or government system, and form what David Bohm described to me as a single intelligence that can do astounding things as they stay connected as a single intelligence.
I go back to this moment because what we're interested in with Laurent and you, I think too, right, is how if this leadership capacity is widely distributed, we want more leaders.
Yes.
Right? So you mentioned one of the main issues, you called it a disease, this social conformism.
Yes.
We write with Laurent also that start applying or transforming one's company into the caring company is a leap of faith.
Yes.
That we cannot demonstrate you with any business model or mathematical formula of how caring unconditionally about your business ecosystem members, about your clients, about your suppliers, the local community will produce higher profits than your competitors. In a way, we invite them to believe in that. So that's a leap of faith. It's, if you use another metaphor, I'm now switching boats for airplanes. It's we're asking them like to jump with a parachute, like you can't go up, right? There's no way up. You have to believe that it will land. And even some people say it's a free fall. You hope that the parachute will open. You're not sure, right?
Yes.
So we are very, in a way, harsh with Laurent. We're asking these business leaders who have this responsibility and it's a fiduciary responsibility and more responsibility, right, for the business to continue, be sustainable and succeed. We're asking them to do this jump. And we would not be surprised, or we shouldn't be surprised that there are very few that are doing that, right? And you say that the courage is missing. How can we, in a way, not asking them to be heroes? Because I think Aldous Huxley did that society that asks ordinary people to become heroes is going to be totalitarian.
So here's what I would say. I agree with you. You cannot ask a business leader to commit suicide, but you need to ask him or her to be open to learning. And what this is all about is learning how to be an effective leader. One way to do it is to find a distressed unit. Most of them have units that are not performing, and they don't have that much to lose. They're trying to offload the unit anyway. They're trying to sell it or something.
Right.
Start there and turn it around. We've done that so many times. to start in a distressed unit, this is not something you can do overnight. And so you get that commitment in a distressed unit and turn it around. And we've done that tons of times.
So what you're saying, if I'm using a metaphor, I think it's a Texan proverb, this dog won't fly, something like that.
This dog won't hunt.
Right, won't hunt. Okay, so I'm trying to be creative in Texas. That doesn't work. You say find in fact a leader or person with a responsibility,
Yeah.
and find a place where anyway it won't fly, it won't hunt. So the risk, in fact, is much lower. You're not going to ruin a successful company. You maybe will be successful in turning around a losing company.
We have a lot of stories like that. It's really a good strategy.
And then you will enter the learning curve.
Yes.
Because once you did it with this proposition, which is not very risky with this place in the company, then you go maybe a better running business unit, and then a better running, and then the whole company. So, and you will get more confidence in your capacity to transform and run company based on different principles that your current principles. So that's what you suggest.
That's what I suggest, precisely.
I think it will speak, we hope, to more and more people, because I don't think that if someone says, I don't have a business unit that has problems, I think that's where he has a problem.
You show me a company without that, he's got a blind spot.
What advice would you give us, Isaac and myself, around talking the right language and to help people understand what we've been talking about here?
Oh gosh, you know what? I'm going to say keep doing what you're doing. Okay. You take this conversation that we're having. You all have created a great example of. I applaud what you all are doing, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think I've learned, it's true that when you interview someone, the person being interviewed learns as much as you do. And that's been true of me today.
Okay. Let me maybe ask one more question. We're not fishing for compliments, although I know that as a boy you did a lot of fishing, right?
That's right.
You wrote something great about our book, right? Can you maybe give 1-2 sentences? Why did you find that this is for you, in your words, is an outstanding book among all those that you read?
Yeah, well, I said it's the best business book I've read, maybe forever, but certainly in the last 40 or 50 years. The reason the book is so valuable is that although we're talking about principles that are so far different from the mainstream, you give examples, just like I gave the example of the LA refinery. You give examples where this has really worked, and it engenders confidence in what you're saying. And the very fact that what you're saying is a universal truth adds to it.
What would you like maybe to say as a last sentence with regard to all the topics we discussed? Is there some message that you would like to give to all the people that will watch this interview?
My whole purpose in life right now is to heal the fragmentation in the world. And to me, this is vital. And what we're talking about here, and this book, this very book, is an effort to heal the fragmentation in the world. And that's why I'm so delighted to be here with you all.
Thank you, Joseph. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a real privilege and a pleasure.